Tiang stood before the Galactic Council and felt the weight of 300 eyes upon him. Some of those eyes belonged to species that breathed oxygen like humans did. Others saw in spectrums he could never imagine, but all of them watched him with the same expression, disbelief. "You cannot be serious," Chancellor Vaughn said. The large alien skin shifted through colors that Taeyong's translator earpiece rendered as contempt. "The Valkyrie quarantine is absolute. The plague has no cure. We must protect the rest of the galaxy." Taeyong looked across the chamber to where Kai sat. Valkyrie representative's insectoid body trembled slightly. His species was dying. In 6 months, perhaps less, there would be no more Valkyrie in the universe. 40 billion souls gone. The council had debated for 3 weeks and decided that saving them cost too much. "I remember something," Tessa said quietly. The chamber's acoustics carried his voice to every seat. 80 years ago, human colonies on the outer rim were starving. Our crops failed. We didn't understand the soil on those worlds. We were new to space and we were dying. Jin sat behind him in the human delegation. She had lived through those years as a child. She had eaten ration bars that were more filler than food. She had watched her baby brother grow thin. "The Valkyrie came to us," Tessa continued. "They had no reason to help. We had nothing to trade. We were barely keeping our ships running, but they came anyway. They taught us how to grow food in alien soil. They shared seeds that could adapt to different worlds. They asked for nothing in return. That was their choice." Vaughn interrupted. "Charity is noble, but this situation is different. The Valkyrie plague could spread, it could mutate, it could kill billions across hundreds of worlds. Our scientists say the plague cannot survive outside Valkyrie biology." Hijin spoke up. She stood, her gray hair pulled back severely, her face carved with lines of determination. "We have reviewed all the data. The risk to other species is minimal." "Minimal is not zero," another council member said. This one was from the hegemon's inner circle, a species that had held power for 10,000 years. "We cannot risk the many for the few." Taeyong felt something hot and sharp in his chest. He had been a soldier before. He became a diplomat. He had fought in the colony wars when pirates and warlords tried to carve up human space. The Valkyrie had sent aid. Then too, medical supplies, ship parts. No strings attached. Then humanity will act alone. Taesung said. The chamber erupted in noise. Translators struggled to keep up with dozens of species all talking at once. Vaughn's skin flashed red. "You would violate quarantine," the Chancellor demanded. "You would ignore the Council's ruling." "We would honor a debt," Taeyong replied. 80 years ago, the Valkyrie saved millions of human lives. They expected nothing from us. Now they need help, and you ask us to look away. That is not who we are." Ken made a sound that the translator rendered as a sob. The Valkyrie's antenna drooped. "You would sacrifice your standing in the council for us?" Taeyong turned to face the dying alien. "You stood with us when we had nothing. We stand with you now. That is what allies do." Hygiene activated a holographic display. Images filled the air above the council floor. Humans and Valkyrie working together in fields. Valkyrie engineers helping humans build water purification systems. Human children playing with young Valkyrie in colony streets. Decades of friendship captured in light. These are our Memories, Higgins said, every human alive today knows what the Valkyrie did for us. We teach our children about the gift we were given, not just crops and technology, but kindness when we need it. At most, you will be sanctioned, warned trade restrictions, economic isolation. Your species will suffer, then we suffer, Tesung said simply, but we do not abandon our friends. The vote was called. 62 species voted to maintain the quarantine and sanction any who broke it. 38 abstained. Only humanity voted to act. As the council session ended, representatives from other species approached the human delegation quietly. Some offered words of sympathy, others called them fools. One elderly alien from a species Taeyang barely knew touched his arm gently. I remember when my world needed help, the alien whispered. The council said it was too expensive. No one came. I hope you succeed, human. I hope your Valkyrie friends survive, and I hope someday the galaxy learns what you already know. What is that? Tiang asked. That who you stand with matters more than what you gain. That night, Hijjun found Taeyang staring out at the stars from the human embassy quarters. The fleet launches tomorrow, she said. Every hospital ship we have, research vessels, even military escorts. In case the hegemony tries to stop us, we will lose everything we have built here. Tesung said. Trade agreements, alliance treaties, our place in the council. Yes, Hijjun agreed, but we will keep something more important. What is that? She smiled, and it was fierce. We will keep the ability to look at ourselves in the mirror. We will keep our humanity, and the Valkyrie will live to see another day. Tiang nodded slowly. Across the galaxy, human ships were being loaded with medical equipment and supplies. Families were donating credits they could not afford to spare. Scientists were leaving secure positions to volunteer for a mission that might end their careers. All of it for aliens they had never met, because those aliens had once helped humans they had never met. Let them sanction us, Taeyang said quietly. Let them call us fools. We know who we are. The stars glittered in the window, cold and distant, but somewhere among them the Valkyrie waited, and humanity was coming. The hospital ship, steadfast, dropped out of faster than light travel. At the edge of Valkyrie space, Captain Dongjun watched the view screen as dozens of Valkyrie worlds appeared in the display. From orbit they looked peaceful, but the scanners told a different story. Cities were going dark. Communication networks were failing. The plague was winning. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Valkyrie Council, his communications officer reported. They say we should turn back. They do not want us to risk ourselves. Dongjun almost smiled. Even dying, the Valkyrie worried about others. Tell them we did not come this far to leave. Tell them humanity remembers. Behind the steadfast came 30 more human ships, medical vessels, research stations, transports full of supplies, not enough to save an entire species by normal standards, but humans had never been very good at accepting normal standards when lives were at stake. Dr. Bo stood in the research lab, reviewing data that Valkyrie scientists had sent. The plague attacked the Valkyrie nervous system in ways that made no sense according to human medicine. But Bora had not expected it to make sense. Alien biology was alien for a reason. We need to work with their doctors, Bora told her team. We cannot solve this by ourselves. We need to combine what they know about Valkyrie Biology with what we know about fighting diseases. A young researcher named Jin Wu looked up from his station. The Council has issued economic sanctions against humanity. Trade routes are being closed. Supply chains are breaking down. My family sent a message saying food prices have tripled on our colony. Bora felt her jaw tighten. She had expected this, but knowing it was coming did not make it easier. Her sister lived on a mining colony that depended on imported food. Her nephew was only 5 years old. Then we work faster, Bora said. The sooner we cure this plague, the sooner we can go home and deal with our own problems. On the planet below, Mongok walked through a Valkyrie hospital. She had grown up on a joint human Valkyrie colony world. She had learned to speak the clicking, buzzing language of the Valkyrie before she learned proper Korean. The Valkyrie in the hospital beds were young and old, sick and dying, and they all looked at her with compound eyes that held too much suffering. A Valkyrie physician approached her. His name was Tikvin, and she had known him for 20 years. They had studied medicine together before the plague came. Myung, okay, Tikvin said, his translator rendering his emotional state as grief. You should not be here. Your council sanctioned you. Your people are suffering because you came to help us. My people are doing what is right, Maung replied. Gently, she touched his forearm in the way Valkyrie showed affection. Tell me what you have tried. Tell me what we can do. For 3 months, human and Valkyrie scientists worked together. They shared every piece of data. They ran tests that would have taken years through normal bureaucratic channels. Bo-Ra barely slept. Her team lived on stimulants and determination. News from human space grew worse. The hegemony enforced the sanctions ruthlessly. Human traders were turned away from stations they had used. For decades, human goods were banned. Human diplomats were expelled from council spaces. The economic damage was catastrophic. Dongjun received messages from the Human Defense Force. Ships were being recalled from patrol routes. Military budgets were being cut to free up money for basic supplies. Some colonies were talking about rationing again, like in the old days before the Valkyrie came. Captain, his first officer said quietly, some of the crew are asking if this is worth it. Their families are hungry. Dongjun looked at the man for a long moment. Tell them this: if we become the kind of people who abandon friends because it costs too much, then we are not worth saving anyway. Tell them their sacrifice matters. Tell them the Valkyrie would do the same for us. On human colonies across settled space, something unexpected happened. Civilians started organizing donation drives. They gave money they could not afford to give. They sent supplies even though they might need those supplies themselves. A message was sent from Earth that made Dongjun and LT Unk and GTSI's water. Children at schools were skipping lunch and sending the saved meal credits to the Valkyrie relief effort. We are humans. The message from one school said, we do not leave people behind, not ever. In the 4th month, Bora made a breakthrough. She was working with a Valkyrie named SRA, comparing human immune responses with Valkyrie ones. They were exhausted, running on their last reserves of energy. Look at this, SRA said suddenly. The plague attacks our nervous system. Yes, but what if it is not a neural disease? What if it is using the nervous system to spread, but the real damage is metabolic? Bo-Ra stared at the data. Then she started running new simulations. Human doctors understood metabolism. They had spent centuries learning how human bodies converted food to energy. And the Valkyrie had shared their agricultural knowledge decades ago, which meant humans understood biochemistry better than most species. We need to test this, Boa said. If we can disrupt the plague's metabolic process, we might be able to stop it. The testing took 2 more months. They had failures, they had setbacks, but they also had something that many research efforts did not have: complete trust between the researchers, humans, and Valkyrie shared data without hesitation. They questioned each other's work without ego. They focused on the goal instead of individual recognition. When the cure finally worked, Bo-Ra cried. Sever's antenna quivered within emotion the translator called joy. Relief, gratitude. They had done it. Together, the cure spread across Valkyrie worlds. Millions were saved, billions would live. The plague that was supposed to wipe out an entire species was defeated by humans and Valkyrie working as partners. Kyan sent a message to the Galactic Council. Humanity saved us. Valkyrie representative said they risked everything. They lost trade, wealth and status. They did this because we were once kind to them, because we were allies, and now we will remember for 10,000 generations. On the steadfast, Dong Jun received orders to return home. Human space needed its medical ships back. Economic damage was severe. It would take years to recover. But as the ship prepared to leave every Valkyrie station, they passed broadcast the same message. Thank you, humans. Thank you for showing the galaxy what friendship means. Dong Jun stood on the bridge and watched the Valkyrie worlds fade into the distance. His people had paid a terrible price for their loyalty, but he did not regret it. Not for a moment. Admiral Jiwen read the intelligence report 3 times. She wanted to believe it was wrong, but Sun Ho did not make mistakes. The intelligence officer had spent 18 months piecing together fragments of intercepted communications, tracking fleet movements, and analyzing diplomatic chatter. The conclusion was unavoidable. The hegemony was preparing to attack humanity. They fear us, Sang Ho said. He stood at attention in Jai 1 office, his face carefully neutral. Not our weapons, not our ships. They fear what we represent, explained Jiwen. Ordered. Sang Ho activated a holographic display. It showed the hegemony's power structure, a web of alliances built on fear and mutual benefit. Species stayed loyal because the hegemony protected them or because they feared punishment. It was a system 10,000 years old. Humanity broke that system, Sung Ho said. We showed that loyalty can exist without power, that allies can be valued for who they are, not what they provide. The hegemony's client species are watching. Some are asking questions. Gi studied the display. She saw what Sang Ho meant. Small species that the hegemony had protected for centuries were suddenly communicating with human diplomats. Nothing official, nothing that violated treaties, but the conversations were happening. How long until they attack? Gi asked. 6 months. Maybe less. They are moving fleets into position now. Jiwen looked out the window of her orbital station. Human space had changed in the 18 months since the Valkyrie rescue. The economic sanctions had hurt badly. Some colonies had gone through food shortages. Trade Networks that took decades to build had collapsed overnight, but humanity had survived. Humans were good at surviving. Start preparing defensive plans, Guy said, and send a message to all fleet commanders. Tell them to recall our ships from non-essential deployments across human space. People prepared for war, but in the quiet spaces between stars, something else was happening, high-piloted or small. Freighter through an uncharted system. She had been a legitimate trader once. Now she was a smuggler. The hegemony had banned trade with humanity. But H1 had discovered that many species disagreed with that ban. They just could not say so publicly. Approaching Rendezvous Point, her co-pilot announced 3 ships appeared on the scanner. They belonged to the Wren, an aquatic species that lived in massive ocean habitats. Hewan had traded with the Wren before the sanctions. They had always been fair partners. Freyer. Bright morning, this is Wren trading. Vessel Swift Current. A translated voice came through. We have the medical equipment you requested. Hay smiled. Medical equipment was bound for a human colony that desperately needed it. Swift Current, I have the water purification filters you need. Shall we trade? The exchange took less than an hour. As the Wren ship prepared to leave, its captain sent a private message. The Wren people remember, the captain said, 10 years ago, human companies sent us emergency water supplies when our primary habitat suffered a contamination crisis. Your companies went bankrupt doing it. They asked for no payment. We have not forgotten. Many of us believe the sanctions are wrong. Hewan felt something warm in her chest. Tell your people we appreciate their friendship. Tell yours that they are not alone. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. The Taurim, bird-like aliens who had lost cities to natural disasters, remembered human engineers who helped rebuild for free. The Balkans, a mining species, remembered human doctors who treated their workers without charging. The Rish traders themselves remembered human merchants who dealt fairly even when they could have cheated. In the Galactic Council chambers, Tiang noticed the change. Species that used to avoid human diplomats were now making eye contact, small gestures, brief conversations, nothing that would attract hegemony attention, but the signs were there. Then the Valkyrie made their announcement. Kevin stood before the council, his insected body covered in ceremonial markings. The Valkyrie people wish to make a formal declaration, he said. We hereby recognize humanity as Kakin sworn. This is the highest honor our species can bestow. It means we consider humans to be family. It means we will stand with them against any threat. It means their enemies are our enemies. The council chamber went silent. Kinsworn status had not been granted by the Valkyrie. 800 years, it meant complete alliance. It meant the Valkyrie would share their most protected technologies and secrets. Furthermore, Cavern continued, we are transferring our advanced shield technology to human forces. This technology has been the foundation of Valkyrie defense for a millennium. We share it now because humanity has earned it. Vaughn's skin flashed angry colors. This is unacceptable. You violate council restrictions. We violate nothing. Can replied calmly. The Valkyrie are not council members. We are independent, and we choose to stand with those who stood with us. After the session, Taeyang met with Kai privately. You did not have to do this, the human diplomat said. You have already suffered enough because of us. Kron and LT Unk and GT's antenna moved in a pattern that indicated deep affection. You saved our entire species. You risked everything. How could we do less for you? 8. The hegemony will be furious. Let them be furious. They will learn what you already know. True strength comes from who stands beside you, not who kneels before you. Admiral G1 received the Valkyrie shield technology and immediately distributed it to human shipyards. The shields were more advanced than anything humanity had. They would make a difference in the coming fight, but even with Valkyrie technology, human forces were outnumbered 5-1. Sangho brought more intelligence. Admiral, we are detecting unusual activity. Multiple species are moving. Assets repositioning, fleets changing. Trade routes. Which species? Jiwan asked. Sung-Ho listed them. 47 different species, most of them small or considered weak by hegemony standards. We are not sure what they are doing, but it looks like preparation for something. G1 studied the data, then she smiled. It was not a happy smile, it was the smile of someone who had just realized the battlefield was about to change. They are choosing sides, she said quietly. So are those species. They are deciding whether to stand with the hegemony or stand with us, and I think some of them are choosing us. Sung-Ho looked shocked. But why would they risk hegemony? Retaliation. Gi-1 thought about children sending their lunch money to save aliens they had never met. She thought about doctors volunteering to fight a plague in dangerous conditions. She thought about an entire species accepting economic devastation rather than abandon a friend because they have been watching us, Jai-1 said. They have seen what we do, how we treat our partners, how we honor our word, and maybe, just maybe, they want to be part of something better than the system they have known. The hegemony war fleets continued to gather. The attack was coming, but humanity was not alone anymore, and that was going to change everything. Young Sik had been working for 3 days straight. His job was to coordinate cultural liaison between humanity and alien species. It had been a quiet position until recently. Now his office was flooded with messages from species across the galaxy. They all wanted to talk. They all had stories to share. Sir, another delegation is requesting a meeting, his assistant said. The Torm, they say it is urgent. Young Sik rubbed his tired eyes. Send them in. 3 Torm entered. They were bird-like creatures with bright feathers and sharp eyes. Their leader, a diplomat named Kes, bowed in the human fashion. Before speaking, we wish to make a formal announcement. Kes said, the Torum people officially recognize humanity with our highest honor, the Sky Friend title. This means we consider humans to be partners of the sky, trusted and valued. It means we stand with you. Young Sik felt his throat tighten. The hegemony will punish you for this. Let them try, Kes replied. 60 years ago, our city of Crash was destroyed by earthquakes. Millions were homeless. The council offered minimal aid. They said reconstruction was too expensive, but human engineers came. They worked for free. They rebuilt our water systems, our power grids, our homes. They asked for nothing. We have waited for a chance to repay that debt. You do not owe us anything, Young Sik said. Kes made a sound like gentle laughter. That is why we choose to give. You never demanded payment. You never held your kindness Over us, you just helped because it was. Right, now we help you because it is. Right, the Torm were not alone. Over the next week, 47 different species made similar announcements, each one formally recognized humanity with their highest cultural honors, each one pledged to stand with humanity against threats. Tiang stood before the Galactic Council and watched history unfold. Representatives from dozens of species took turns speaking, each one told a story about humanity. The Wren ambassador spoke about the drought crisis. Our people were dying of thirst. Our habitats were failing. Human corporations diverted entire water shipments to save us. Those companies went bankrupt. The humans involved lost everything, but our children lived. We remember. The Balulan representative told of human doctors treating sick miners in dangerous conditions. They came to our deep mines where the air is poison. They risked their lives to save workers that other species said were not worth saving. They showed us that every life has value. A rich trader described decades of fair business with humans. In all our dealings, humans never cheated us, even when they could have taken advantage. They chose honesty. In a galaxy where trade is built on deception, humanity built it on trust. More stories emerged. Humans who helped rebuild cities, scientists who shared research freely, diplomats who listened more than they spoke, teachers who respected alien cultures, merchants who kept their word, even when breaking it would have been profitable. Young Sick had documented all of it, years of interactions between humans and other species, thousands of small kindnesses, millions of moments where humans chose to do right instead of what was easy or profitable. This is unprecedented. The council speaker said his name was Dalrix, and he belonged to a species that had stayed neutral in galactic politics for centuries. Never in council history have so many species united to recognize another. Vaughn stood, his skin flashing dark colors. This is manipulation. Humanity planned this. They helped these species to create a power base. Kess the Torum laughed. It was a sharp, clear sound. We were helped 60 years ago. Did humanity plan for this moment that long ago, when they were weaker than us, when they had nothing to gain? A rain representative added, humans gave us water when they were struggling economically. They made themselves poorer to make us richer. What kind of manipulation is that? Arconda. More species spoke. Each one provided evidence of human actions that went back decades. None of it had been strategic. None of it had been designed to build alliances. Humans had simply helped when they saw someone needed help. You fear this because you do not understand it. A small alien said her species was called the Fisk, and they were so weak that most council members did not know they existed. The hegemony builds power through strength. You control through fear. Humanity builds power through kindness. They control nothing, but everyone wants to stand with them. The council erupted in debate. Some species were moved by the testimony, others were frightened of what it meant. The hegemony representatives were furious. This changes nothing, Vaughn declared. We have military superiority. We have the strongest fleets in the galaxy. Your recognition means nothing against our weapons. Taeyong stepped forward. Then attack us. Launch your fleets, but know this, you will not be fighting humanity alone. You will be fighting everyone who has chosen to stand with us, and we will fight Together, Higgin activated a holographic display. It showed the combined military strength of all 47 species that had recognized humanity individually. They were weak. The hegemony could have crushed any one of them easily. But together, their numbers were significant. You have a choice, Higgin said. You can attack and face unified resistance, or you can acknowledge that the galaxy is changing, that power built on fear is fragile, that loyalty earned through kindness is stronger than armies. The Hegemony War Council met in private. Young Sik had no access to their discussions, but intelligence reports painted a picture. The hegemony had expected an easy victory against isolated humanity. They had not planned for a coalition. More importantly, other hegemony client species were watching. Species that had been loyal for thousands of years were suddenly asking questions. If 47 weak species could stand up to the hegemony, what did that mean? If humanity could inspire that kind of loyalty through simple decency, what did that say about hegemony rule? Drizzled for a vote. The hegemony has requested council support for military action against humanity and its allies. All those in favor, 20 species voted yes. All of them were core hegemony members. All those opposed, 47 voices called out in opposition. Abstaining, the rest of the council abstained. Over 100 species chose not to support the hegemony. Vaughn stood slowly. His skin had gone pale. You are making a mistake, he said. The hegemony has maintained order for 10,000 years. You risk chaos, we risk freedom. Kess replied, there is a difference. The hegemony withdrew its fleets not because it could not win, but because victory would cost too much. If they attacked, they would shatter the carefully maintained illusion that he rule was accepted willingly. They would prove what everyone suspected. Their power was built on threat, not consent. Young Sik watched the hegemony ships leave and felt dizzy. A war had been averted, not through weapons or military genius, but through 47 species deciding that humans were worth standing with. Taeyang found him in the observation deck. You did good work, the old diplomat said, documenting everything, showing the truth of what humanity has done. I just recorded what happened. Young Sik said, our people did the real work. They were kind when no one was watching. They helped when it cost them. They built relationships based on mutual respect, and now the galaxy sees what that creates. Taeyang agreed. Power without armies, strength without conquest, unity without force. Young Sik looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 47 different species were celebrating. They had stood up to the most powerful force in the galaxy and won, not through violence but through solidarity. What do we call this? Young Sik asked. This moment, Taeyang smiled. The recognition, the moment when being worthy of alliance became more powerful than weapons. The moment the heavens moved because enough voices demanded it. The hegemony attacked anyway. Admiral Guy was not surprised. Vaughn and his war council could not accept what had happened. They could not let humanity's example stand unchallenged, so they launched their fleets confident that superior technology would win even against numbers. All ships prepare for engagement. G1 ordered. Remember, we fight for everyone who stands with us today. Human fleet moved into position. They had Valkyrie shields now, which helped, but they were still badly outnumbered. What G1 had that the hegemony did not expect was coordination. The Ren ships took the flanks. Their vessels were fast and maneuverable, perfect for hit and run tactics. The Torm provided long-range sensor coverage, their keen eyes able to detect enemy movements before human scanners could. The Balkans sent mining ships retrofitted with weapons, tough and durable. Each species contributed what they did best. Hegemony fleet is engaging, tactical officer reported. They are focusing fire on Sector 7. Signal the Ren to harass their rear formations. G1 said, have the Balulan ships move to reinforce Sector 7. We hold the line together. The battle was not like anything in hegemony tactical databases. They were used to fighting individuals. Humanity had taught its allies to fight as a unit. When hegemony ships attacked human vessels, Torm ships provided covering fire. When Ren ships were targeted, Balkan vessels moved to protect them. Every species guarded the others. Captain Kaunsu commanded a destroyer on the front line. He was young for his position, only 30 years old. He watched his crew work with alien liaison officers, sharing information across species in real time. Valkyrie sensors detect enemy ambush. Valkyrie officer on his bridge reported. Torm scouts confirm. A Torm navigator added, recommend evasive pattern. Kyong Su ordered the maneuver. His ship avoided the ambush. 3 Ren vessels that had been following his destroyer immediately attacked the hidden hegemony ships the enemy had expected to face isolated targets. Instead, they faced a web of cooperation on the hegemony flagship. Vaughn watched his tactical displays with growing disbelief. His ships were superior in every technical measure, but they were losing not quickly but steadily. The coalition fleet protected each other, adapted to each other's strengths, covered each other's weaknesses. They trust each other completely. His tactical officer said, our ships fight as individuals, theirs fight as one organism. Vor realized his mistake too late. The hegemony had built power through intimidation. Their client species obeyed out of fear, not loyalty. In battle, that meant each hegemony vessel fought primarily to preserve itself, but the coalition ships fought to preserve each other. A human destroyer took critical damage, protecting a Fisk science vessel. Fisk were weak, their ship almost useless in combat. Any rational commander would have let them fall, but the human captain sacrificed his shield to save them. Why? Then the Fisk vessel used its advanced sensors to detect another hegemony ambush, saving an entire human squadron. The sacrifice had not been waste, it had been investment. Admiral G1 coordinated the entire coalition fleet. She treated alien commanders as equals, not subordinates. She asked for their input. She valued their expertise, and they responded with complete commitment. Hegemony ships are withdrawing from Sector 12, sensors reported. G1 studied the battlefield. The hegemony was not defeated, but they were not winning, and more importantly, the galaxy was watching. Every species that had stayed neutral could see what was happening. The mighty hegemony could not break a coalition of weak species who trusted each other. Vaughn sent a communication request. Guy accepted it. You have made your point, the hegemony Chancellor said. His skin was dull, exhausted. This war serves no one. Agreed. Jai replied, will you accept ceasefire terms? What are your terms? Leave us Alone, let our allies trade freely. Stop punishing species for choosing their own. Friends, Vor was silent for a long moment. You ask us to surrender our authority. No, G1 corrected, we ask you to earn loyalty instead of demanding it. The war ended not with hegemony's military defeat, but with their political collapse. Within 6 months, dozens of client species simply chose to leave. They had seen the coalition stand against hegemony might. They had seen that there were alternatives to submission. The Galactic Council reformed. Delrix proposed a new structure, the alliance of recognized peoples. Any species could join. All members had equal votes. Military protection was mutual. Trade was based on fairness. Cultural respect was mandatory. Who will lead this alliance? A representative asked. Everyone looked at humanity. Tiang stood and shook his head. No one leads. We are partners. We can have rotating speakers. We can have councils, but no one species should have power over others. You could lead. Castorum said, you have earned it. Leading means telling others what to do. H-Jun replied, we prefer standing beside them and figuring things out. Together, the alliance was formed. 47 species joined immediately. Within a year, it was over 100. The hegemony still existed, but it was no longer the dominant power. It had to compete with an alternative that offered something it never could. Genuine partnership. 5 years later, Kaungu was no longer a captain. He had left military service to become a diplomat. His first assignment was welcoming a new species to the alliance. They were called the Torvin, and they had suffered under hegemony rule for centuries. We do not know if we can trust this. The Torvin representative said. Her name was Sela. All our history teaches us that power means exploitation. Kaungu smiled gently. Let me tell you a story. 80 years ago, humanity was starving on colony worlds. We knew nothing about growing food in alien soil. A species called the Valkyrie helped us. They taught us agriculture. They asked for nothing in return. Why would they do that? Sela asked suspiciously. Because it was right, Kaungu said simply. And decades later, when the Valkyrie faced extinction from a plague, humanity risked everything to save them. We lost trade, wealth, and status, but we saved our friends. That is what the alliance is built on. Not power, not benefit, just the simple idea that friends matter. Sela's expression was doubtful. And if we are weak, if we have nothing to offer, and GT clears throat, and GT, then you are still welcome. Kaungu assured her, your worth is not measured by what you give us. It is measured by who you are. Over the following weeks, Kaungu showed the Torvin what the alliance meant. He introduced them to species far more powerful than them who treated them as equals. He showed them trade agreements that were fair to both sides. He demonstrated how conflicts were resolved through negotiation, not force. This is different, Sela admitted finally. When the hegemony welcomed new species, they came with demands and restrictions. You come with offers and choices because we want partners, not subjects. Kaungu said. The Torvin joined the alliance. They were the 143rd species to do so. More would follow on Earth. In a classroom full of children, a teacher told the story of the Valkyrie. She explained how one act of kindness had cascaded across generations, how helping strangers had built bonds stronger than armies, how remembering who helped you was more important than conquering those who opposed you. What did we learn? A small girl raised her hand. That being kind makes us strong. Yes, the teacher agreed, and that strength built on goodness lasts longer than strength built on fear. The girl thought about that. Is that why so many species want to be our friends now? Partly, the teacher said, but mostly it is because we treat them like they matter. We remember what they do for us. We stand with them when they need us, and they do the same for us. That is what the recognition taught us. That is what moved the heavens. In the council chambers of the Alliance, Dritch studied reports from across the galaxy. The old hegemony structure was dissolving. Species were choosing freedom over security. They were choosing partnerships over dominance. Taeyang, now elderly and retired from active diplomacy, visited the council. Greeted him warmly. You changed everything. The neutral alien said, you showed the galaxy a different way. T shook his head. We did not change anything. We just remembered something old, that treating people well matters, that loyalty is not weakness, that the best way to have friends is to be a friend. Simple concepts, Dowrix observed. Best ones usually are. Taeyang agreed. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships flew alongside Valkyrie vessels. Ren traders worked with Torm merchants. Belkin miners partnered with Fisk scientists. Hundreds of species cooperating, not because they had to, but because they chose to. The heavens had moved, not through force or conquest, but through recognition, through the simple acknowledgement that character matters, that kindness has power, and that who you stand with defines who you are. And humanity had learned that the greatest strength was not in weapons or wealth, but in being worthy of standing beside